But there comes a time where God says, your season in Egypt is over. Let's go. This was good for you for a while. I brought you here. I provided for you. I'm not mad at you about it. I have compassion on you. I'm full of grace toward you, but it's over now. That way of thinking is over now. That mentality that just depends on somebody else to give you something is over now. Your suffering in that area of your life is over now. See, every season of suffering in your life has an expiration date that God knows about in heaven. And the devil can't just mess with you as long as he wants to. But after that, you have suffered a little while. The God of glory will himself restore you. So now God brought them out with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. And he brought them out at the appointed time into a place called the wilderness. This is not where they were. This is not where they're going. This is the place in between. And when they got so far in the wilderness, after about a month when they had passed through the Red Sea, they came upon a problem. See, although they had left Egypt through the Red Sea and God did miracles a month ago, they have run out of food in the place in between. And now they're no longer on the Egyptian meal plan. Even though Egypt hurt, they didn't have to be hungry. And now they're not yet fully in the land with the big grapes that you read about in Numbers 13. But in between, there is a test to see what will they depend on. And they didn't do so well with this test. Just like revelation is progressive, so is trust. And God will give you opportunities at different places in your life to trust him in a new way. Oh yeah. You get to trust God with your kid when they're a toddler. You get to trust him again with your kid when they're a teenager. When they're a toddler, you're wondering, are they dead in there? You know, like, did they stop breathing? Right? Or are they gonna pull something down on their head? When they're a teenager, you wish they would pull something down on their head, make them unconscious for a minute. But you get to trust God in every season. Because when they're a toddler, you can put little things in the wall so they don't stick their tongue in an electrical socket. You can't put one of those in their friends. So faith is progressive, right? God's like, you had the faith to walk through the water. Now you get to have the faith to trust me in the wilderness. 3 days pass where they have no water. They've encamped several different places, and God brings them to a little bit of water, but it's bitter and they can't drink it. They start trying to drink it. Terrible, right? You know, the stream isn't very clean. The Bible says that God shows Moses a log. The word show means teaches. It's the same word in Hebrew that we get Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. It's the law. Moses takes the law, throws it in the water, and it turns sweet. Because God will always show you something in your life that you can utilize. If God brings you to a place and the water is bitter, there will be something. Many scholars say that the wood was indicative, pointing toward the cross to show us that God was going to take the most bitter day in history and the most bitter defeat in human history and turn it into a day of triumph. But they've just been through that. And now they're hydrated, but they're hungry. And here I want to pick it up. It says, the whole Israelite community, verse 1, set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after they had come out of Egypt. The 15th day of the 2nd month. So this is the expiration date for them to be able to live off of what they got out of Egypt. This is the day where they're going to have to trust God in a new way. And I believe that some of you are right there. Let me break away from this for a minute because I don't want this to be a history lesson. I believe that some of you have trusted God on one level long enough. And you've trusted in certain instincts and ways of being in the world long enough, and God is trying to free you from those systems of dependence. Not necessarily that you're gonna move to another city or start a new marriage. I mean, you're gonna go out of here and do weird stuff. I mean that God is trying to change something on the inside of you because you've you've been eating certain food past its expiration date. So the good news is they're out of Egypt. The good news is I'm going to heaven when I die. The good news is, man, I really do feel God's presence in my life certain times. The bad news is they're hungry. And the worst news is they're still in between where they left and where God is leading them, okay? So now, watch, this is what Jesus was referring to. It says in verse 2, in the desert, the whole community was grateful to Moses and Aaron. Thank you so much for standing up to Pharaoh. Thank you for leading us. I know it was hard for you too. No. They grumbled about the grace of God. And I'm gonna show you why in a minute. It's right here in the text. They grumbled against Moses and Aaron. And the Israelites said to them, man, I wish we had died. I wish God had killed us in Egypt. There, okay, we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. Now, what's missing from this recollection? Any of y'all married to somebody who has selective memory? Selective memory. Just the ability to recall certain details that paint a certain picture of the past. Now watch what God is doing. God already knows how he will provide for you. God already had a plan to provide for them, but this was a test to trust him, to know that in the space in between what I need and what I see is the grace of God enabling me to know who he is. This sermon is deeper than y'all came ready for, and I do apologize, but it's the space in between my need and how God meets it that I have the opportunity to believe him on the basis of who he is. There it is. And he said, it would have been better in Egypt where we sat around a buffet of protein and had all the food we wanted, but you brought us out into this desert to starve the entire assembly to death. And then the Lord said to Moses, I'll rain down bread from heaven for you. I'm not worried about feeding y'all. I'm about to make it rain on the entire assembly in a way that you can only imagine. And he's going to. I'm going to show you this. It's where the manna comes in. He says the people should go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. Now on the 6th day, because I want y'all to rest on the 7th day, go out, prepare what you bring in, and that will be twice as much as they gather on the other days. Skip to verse 11. The Lord said to Moses, okay, 12. Very little. I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Now I love God because he gives me grace even when I grumble. Because I don't always pray just right. You know, I don't always put the right introduction on my prayer where I begin by worshiping God for the splendor of his holiness. Sometimes my prayers are a little crass and a little direct, but God is attracted to the honest need and dependence of his children in any state that you're in. So God said, I heard your grumbling, but I'm gonna give you grace. I see your need, but I'm gonna give you mercy because I can look beyond it and fill you with my supply. Go back to the verse. He said, at twilight you will eat meat, in the morning you'll be filled with bread, and then you will know that I'm trying to show you who I am. All you can see is what you don't have, and all you can see is what you're not. But I'm trying to use what you're not to show you who I am. Hey, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single video or live stream, and share this video with a friend. And don't forget, you can join me live every Sunday. Thanks again for watching.